Namaskar, dear students. How are you? I am sure you will be fine and must be enjoying the psychology, the different topics which we have studied. The topic of today is nature of language. As far as the linguistic part is concerned, there are two topics in your curriculum. One is the language development and the other is the nature of the language, because it is the language through which we can think of, talk of higher cognitive processes. I have the knowledge with me. I am a well-read person, but unless and until I communicate with you, it is of no use. Now, when I want to communicate this knowledge, I want to impart the knowledge which I have with you, I must have a tool which will help me to deliver the matter and will facilitate in reaching to you. And what is that tool? That tool is the language. That tool is the language. It may be written, it may be oral, it may be verbal, it may be non-verbal. So, language, is very, very important as far as the human development is concerned, the growth of the human is concerned, the growth of a scientific discipline is concerned. Whatever you can say, this language becomes a very important part. Now, what is the nature of language? What is language? What truly set us apart from other species of animals is our use of languages, our ability to use an extremely rich set of symbols plus rules of combining them to communicate information. While the members of all the species do communicate with one another in some manner, and while some way use certain features of language, the human ability to use language far exceeds that of any organism on the earth. Now, what is this? Now, this para says that if we are all animals, we are all animals, mammals. Animals are also mammals, we are also mammals. The difference is only of the development of the brain. Everyone has the language, everyone has the language. The animals have their language, the birds have their language, but our language system is so advanced that we can communicate it with in a higher cognitive manner. The animals have also language. If a dog barks, the other dog follows. When a sparrow chirps, the other sparrows also respond to that. They have the language. Even deaf and dumb, they have their language. Even if you come to the blind, they have the braille system, and on the braille system they can read and they can tell you what does it mean. So, the human species has a special feature, and that is of the brain, and that we used in the language development. Now, when we say that by language we can communicate, I don't mean at all, don't confuse, it doesn't mean at all the words A for apple, B for boy, C for cat. No, language is there, no doubt. Even the symbols, when we solve the problem of the maths, we write A plus B plus C plus D. We don't write A P L U S plus. We don't write plus. We simply put the sign of the plus, minus, simple line, division, minus, one dot above, one dot below. It is also a language. Now, this language will differ from one to other. How? If I am a teacher, I am teaching statistics. Now, I say this formula says the formula of mean is assumed plus sigma fx, suppose. Now, when I will write on the board, I will put the symbol of the plus and you will say A plus. But when you are on the road, a car is just in the market and in the back of the back glass, a sign of plus is written. We never say this is the car of a mathematical professor, it is the car of a doctor. car of a doctor, because here the plus language will mean differ, and in the class when I put A plus B, then that symbol differs. Now, this language where when we are using the signs, the symbols, it is called abstract intelligence. And one of the author, a big name, Terman, he says that the person is intelligent to the extent he has the abstract language ability. If your abstract language ability is higher, then you are more intelligent, because you are able to convert those symbols into the meaning, into a linguistic form. So, that is why I said that while the members of all the species do communicate with one another in some manner, while some may use certain features of language, the human ability to use language far exceeds that of an organism on the earth. Any organism on the earth, we are far ahead of those species. Now, we say I have used a word to communicate information. Now, the question is, what is communication? People say communication is simply exchange of ideas. Agreed. But I will not support this definition. I will put only one adjective and will complete this definition. A meaningful exchange of ideas is communication. Now, there is exchange of ideas between the teacher and the taught, but the students are not able to understand what I am teaching. The way I want that this word has this meaning, if you are not able to grasp that, I have not communicated, I have simply made the noise. So, language, makes our communication effective, meaningful. Now, Bhartrhari is a renowned Indian thinker, he is a very renowned Indian thinker, observed, inverted comma, everything is cognized through language. What I was saying, the same thing, the Bhartrhari, the renowned Indian thinker, says everything is cognized. Yani every cognitive intellectual matter passes through the language. Language will be there. Again I am repeating, verbal, I am speaking, written, I am writing a novel, I am writing a poetry, I am writing a para of literature, I am using symbol, whatever. But this knowledge will proceed through the language. Indeed, language changes the world of experience in a critical ways. This is a language which changes the world. You might have observed, you might have seen in some cases, this language somewhere creates problems, and this language somewhere makes the environment harmonious. Now, I must know that which language is taboo in which culture, not acceptable in that culture. If I do not know that, I have no idea, then I will use that language, and unnecessarily there will be a trouble ki what I have spoken something wrong. And if I am a very soft spoken, welcome sir, please come, even you have any anger against me, it will convert it into the love. You say the person is using a very sophisticated language. So, indeed language changes the world of experience in a critical way. Our experiences changes through this language. Language is a system. What is language? Language is a system of combining symbols such as words, so that an infinite number of statements can be made for the purpose of communicating with others. What is language? Language is nothing. It is simply a system where you can combine the words in infinity. Now, that depends on you, your thinking. If you have knowledge, you have good vocabulary, you have good grasping, then you can say one word, you can talk about number of things on that. Now, usually when you go to the interview boards of the public service commissions, number of students sometimes they have pen in their pocket. We usually say, I say, write, I am giving you only 1 minute, write about pen as much as you can write. Now, pen is simple student will say, pen is simply to write. Now, he is combining these words forming a statement. But if you have more vocabulary, if your thinking is creative, if your thinking is original, you can use the words in a number of manners and you can communicate in a better way. So, language is actually nothing, it is a system of combining symbols. Maybe the words, generally words or the symbol which I have told you, abstract thinking. Language allows people not only to communicate with one another, but also represent their own internal mental activity. I can know the person's character, person's personality, the type of language he is speaking. You say their language is very sophisticated, their language is very aggressive, very aggressive. Now, whatever internally is moving, is coming in my mind, that you can also interpret, predict with my language. You see, go to your childhood. When Papa, father gets angry, clear? Now, in the mind of Papa, what is coming? My son has done a mischief, so I must, reprimand him. He says, what are you doing? What are you doing? Now, this internal activity has come in a aggressive, thought has come in a aggressive way. So, language allows people not only to communicate, but even you can guess the internal mental activity of the person with the language. The structures of language all over the world shares common characteristics. They consist of the sounds that exist within a language, meaning words, order the rules for practical communication with others, and meanings of sentences and phrases. Go to anywhere in the world. We may have different languages. Russian have their own system, Spanish, French, even in India. India is a beautiful country where we have a bunch of people living together and using different languages. We are in the Hindi belt. Now, our language is Hindi, we are speaking different. You go to Kerala, Malayalam. You go to Tamil Nadu, Tamil. You go to Punjabi language. You go to Gujarat, the Gujarati is sent. So, language, all it has all is used all over the world, or everywhere in the world there are some common characteristics, and those characteristics are what? They consist of the sounds that exist within a language. Every language sound. We have in English vowels A, E, I, O, U, and others are adjectives. Fine. Meaning a word, order the rules for practical communication with other meanings, sentences and phrases. Now, to understand the nature of language, it is necessary to identify the different element and structure of language. Now, as I said, every language has its own structure, Now, and to understand that language, we must able to understand those things. So, there are six characteristics which are common in all languages. Grammar, number 1, number 2, phonemes, number 3, morphemes, number 4, syntax, number 5, semantics, and 6th is pragmatics. So, these are the 6 characteristics of the language which tell us about its nature. Now, we will now talk one by one. Come to first the grammar. Grammar is a system of rules governing the structure and use of language. According to famous linguist Chomsky, humans have an innate ability to understand and produce language through a device he calls the language acquisition in device, or LAD. Now, every language has a grammar. What is grammar? There is a set of rules: present indefinite, past indefinite, present continuing, past continuing. These are the rules, and using those rules, we formulate the sentences. And Chomsky, he said that everyone has an innate ability. You have English is a mother tongue, Hindi is a mother tongue. There is no need to tell me this is noun, this is pronoun, this is that. I will know. And that he says LAD, language acquisition device. Now, what is LAD? Chomsky defined. He defined the LAD as an innate program that contains the schema for human language. The children matched the language they heard against the schema, and thus language developed in a research sequence, research sequence. Now, the child which is born, he has innate ability. So, whatever he is listening language from the parents, from the society, now he is trying to match his internal setup. You know, in what happened in digital learning, we will talk about later on in one lecture. We make some program and that program we convert into the language. So, similarly says the innate ability which is converted into the language and that is converted with the help of the schema which you already have. The grammar includes, what is grammar now? The grammar include phonemes, the basic sound of knowledge, morphology, the study of formation of word, how the words are formed, rules for order of words known as syntax, and pragmatics, the practical social expectation and uses of the language. So, now we will talk about these points in a way so that it comes to your mind that what is this. Phonemes are the, I am talking about the phonemes first. Phonemes are the basic unit of sound in a language. It is a basic unit of what? Sound in a language. For example, the a, what you say a. In the word, there is a word car. Try to understand. The a in the word car is very different from phoneme from the a in the word day. Now, a is the same. When I say day, it becomes day. When I use it as a car, day. You can say horizontal, vertical, you can make the comparison. So, from the a in the word day, even though it is same letter of the alphabet, this is the first letter of the alphabet A, but in one the phoneme is car, emphasis and in the day a, day. The difference is in how we say the sound of a in each word, how the sound is used in each word that makes the characteristics of the a, and this is phoneme. Phonemes are more than just the different way in which we pronounce single letters to the, th, the, sh, she, and au are also phonemes. Then how you are making the sounds. Phonemes for different languages are also different, and one of the biggest problem for people who are trying to learn about another language is the inability to both hear and pronounce the phonemes of that language. Now, we are accustomed to a particular language and we are using that sound in the form of the phonemes. Now, I want to learn from English to Russian, English to Spanish, English to French. Now, in the French, the sound of a and the will be different. So, I will have to shift from the phoneme which I have formed earlier to till now. Now, if I am able to, try to listen, I am using a word. If I am able to learn the new phoneme in the same way, it is called positive transfer, and if it is creating hindrance, creating problems, it is called a negative transfer, because whatever we have learned earlier definitely will come over in mind when that language is used. Clear? You might have seen, if I am a Punjabi fellow, if I am living in the Punjab and go to the Hindi belt area, then my pronunciation of the Hindi word is very typical, very typical. Now, in Rajasthan there is a city Ganganagar. Now, from where you are coming, I am saying I am coming from Ganganagar. But if a person is using Punjabi phoneme, he will just say, from where you come? Ganganagar, Hanji, Ji, station, because the use of the phoneme is different. So, if you are shifting from one language to another, it may have little bit problem. Then morphemes. Morphemes are the smallest unit of meaning within a language. For example, the word playing contains two morphemes, play plus ing, playing. Morphones are the smallest unit, they are the small unit of meaning within a language. Now, you will have to break them, you will have to break them. The word playing, it contains two morphemes, that is play plus ing. Play plus ing becomes playing. Polygon, polygon. Poly means many, gon means angled. So, many angled diagram is called as the polygon. You break the word, any word. Psychology, come to the psychology. It has two morphemes, psycho plus logi. Psycho means mind and logi means science. Clear? The word mind was replaced by behavior, Watson, that is another story. So, I think now morpheme is clear. So, it is of the two words and they are combined and they form a single word like psychology, morphology, anthropology, pathology. Patho means disease, logi means science. The science which deals with the diseases is called pathology. Then third is the syntax. Syntax is a system of rules combining words and phrases to form grammatically correct sentences. Syntax is quite important as just a simple mix up can cause sentence to be completely misunderstood. For example, John kidnapped the boy has a different meaning from John, comma, the kidnapped boy. Now, even if you are putting here and there, the meaning will change, meaning will change, meaning will change. So, this is syntax is a system of rules combining words and phrases to form a grammatically correct sentence. We make in such a way that they are grammatical become the correct sentence. Now, I tell you one thing, we are talking about nature of language. One of the very big authority in psychology is Professor Hathaway. Now, he is no more. He got Professor Emeritus in Minnesota University, USA, and he has made a test with the help of the McKinley, who was a psychiatrist, and the test is called MMPI, Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory. No book of psychology is complete without MMPI. More than 300 new tests have been developed on the basis of MMPI. Even each and every country has translated that. Even the blind form for the braille form for the blind has also been prepared. But Hathaway said that at one place, he says for the clarity of an item, it means question by which you will assess the personality. For the clarity of an item, even if you have to sacrifice the grammar, sacrifice it. He says do not use grammar unnecessarily. If it is complicating and by sacrificing grammar, sentence is making clear, there is nothing to mind, do it. But whatever the language you are speaking, that must be reached to the person the way you want it to make to reach. Otherwise, he will get another meaning and you are getting another meaning. Semantics are the rules for determining the meaning of words and sentences. Sentence, for example, can have the same semantic meaning while having different syntax. Johnny hit the ball. Johnny hit the ball. The second, the ball was hit by Johnny. The ball was hit by Johnny. This is semantic. Johnny hit the ball. Johnny hit the ball. The ball was hit by Johnny. Now, this meaning sentence is making different. The child was punched by a friend and started crying. He started crying and then his friend punched. If you are making these words here and there, you may have the meaning. So, this is called as the syntax. Then comes to the pragmatics. The pragmatic of language has to do with a practical aspect of communicating with others or social niceties of language. Simply put, pragmatic involves knowing things like how to take turns in a conversation, the use of gestures to emphasize a point or indicate a need for more information, and the different ways in which one speaks to other people. For example, adults speak to small children differently than than they do to the other adults by using simpler words. So, pragmatics means that how you are using the language in different contexts. If I am talking to my grandson who is a 6-year-old, then my language will be different. I am talking to my father, I am talking to my honorable vice chancellor, I am talking to honorable minister, my language, the words will be different. This is called pragmatics. You are to choose that where to use which word has relevance where. If I start talking philosophically to a small child, he will not able to understand. If I start talking in a very amusing way with a senior boss, he will say, what are you doing? Come to the point. So, this is clear. This is the pragmatics, that how you are using that language. If with the children, it will be different. If there is an adult, the things will be different. Both adults and children use higher pitched voices and many repeated phrases when talking to infants. Such child directed plays important role in the development of language in the children. Now, when with a small kid, baby, every adult speak with a different pitch. The pitch of the child is different, the pitch of the elders is different, and when we are using with different pitches, the different phrases, that child learns something. That is why here it is not relevant to talk about, but even I will tell you, if you go to the theory of Piaget, cognitive development, he says at a stage the small child repeats whatever the elder speaks. When the child comes to the home, he says to his parents, well, you sit, I will teach you, like a teacher. He becomes a teacher. If he says A for apple, Papa, Mummy repeats A for apple. When the child is teaching us, we naturally laugh, very good environment, and then he says, don't talk, don't talk. He is repeating the word which the ma'am is repeating. From ma'am, he has learned. Part of the pragmatics of language include knowing just what rhythms and emphasize to use communicating with others, called intonation. What type of the rhythms you are to use, where to emphasize, this is called intonation. When speaking to infants, adults and children are changing the inflection when they use the higher pitched and stress certain words differently than the others. Now, teacher stresses a particular word which is important. Papa stresses a word, what advice he wants to give to you. The context is different. So, in the different contexts we are to use this language, our body language should move according to the message which we are giving. Clear? So, if you see the nature of language, it is very, very clear that if we know the rules, they are common for all the languages, we can learn the language. Once you have learned these rules, the language development process starts, and I am using the last sentence in this lecture. It is only the language by which our higher cognitive functions are governed, they are channeled. So, this was all about nature of the language.